Thanks for the money, clown. Just don't come.
That was my sister Emma's message after she cashed my $2,500 payment for wedding essentials.
And by essentials, she meant a spa weekend in matching silk robes for her bridesmaids. I stared at the text,
the payment notification still sitting at the top of my screen,
and typed back one word, perfect. It wasn't a warm smile that formed on my face, it wasn't forgiveness. It was the smile of someone who'd finally decided they were done being the family's walking ATM. That night, while Emma and my parents probably toasted each other over champagne, I quietly logged into every account tied to her wedding, the caterer, the venue, the florist, the photographer, and one by one, I froze the payments. No refunds, no warning. My name was on those contracts, and I used that power.
Funny thing about generosity, people love it until they realize it came with strings they never saw coming.
Then I sent one more message, not to Emma, not to the family group chat, to the entire guest list. Subject, event update.
Body, the wedding of Emma and Derek has been cancelled.
Please do not attend the venue. Further details to come. Thank you for understanding. No explanation, no apology.
Just an eraser line through the day she thought would crown her queen of the family.
By morning, the fallout began. Vendors called, furious. Guests texted in confusion. Emma stayed silent. On the wedding day,
the venue was dead silent, chairs still wrapped in plastic,
tables half assembled, florists bickering in the parking lot, and right on schedule, a delivery crew rolled a 6-foot-tall black box into the center of the empty hall. No one knew what was inside, not yet, but they would, and once they did, no one would ever see Emma the same way again. 2 months earlier,
I still believed helping family mattered.
Emma's wedding was being planned like a royal coronation. She wanted everything: custom venue, designer dress,
a cake big enough to need its own zip code, and when she needed money, she came to me, the dependable brother with a steady job and enough savings to be helpful.
It started small. Can you cover the deposit? I'll pay you back next paycheck.
Just help with the photographer, Mom said she'll split it. Each request came with a new promise.
Each promise was a lie. Dad's contribution came as guilt trips. Real men don't nickel and dime their family. Mom's was quiet manipulation. It's just until after the wedding.
Even cousins made jokes about putting sponsor Big Bro on the invites, jokes Emma laughed at right along with them. The first real crack came when Emma posted a photo of herself in an $8,000 custom dress, a dress I paid for, with the caption,
"Thank you to the real ones who made this happen. Couldn't have done it without my amazing friends and my future husband." No mention of me, not even a tag. When I confronted her, she smirked. "Relax, you're just the wallet, not the vibe." 2 weeks before the wedding, I noticed $1,200 missing from my checking account. The linked account name? Emma. She called it a mistake, then asked, "What's the big deal when you make so much anyway?" I told Mom. She hushed me. "Let's not ruin the wedding with drama." I told Dad. He barked, "You're a grown man crying over a few bucks?" That's when I realized I'd been alone in this for a long time. The public humiliation came a week before the wedding.
Emma posted a TikTok. I didn't even know she'd filmed me,
standing outside a bridal shop holding her dress bag, scrolling my phone. The caption read, "When your wedding sponsor is your brother, #thanks for the money." It went viral, tens of thousands of views, hundreds of strangers laughing at me. Someone at work even recognized me and texted, "Yo, is this you?" That night, I found her wedding planning app still logged in on my laptop. I opened it. There it was, everything.
Spreadsheets showing how she split sponsor money between her friends and spa days.
Group chats where she called me Plan B and walking ATM.
Voice memos bragging that she could fake cry if I ever got suspicious.
She didn't just want my money, she wanted me humiliated. She wanted me gone.
So I made sure there was no wedding to go to.
It hadn't been an accident. It wasn't a moment of bad judgment. It was deliberate, rehearsed, premeditated. It was the plan all along. I sat in the dark, my laptop screen casting cold light across my face as I downloaded everything, every group chat, every voice memo, every receipt, digital proof of every insult, every theft, every smug little laugh at my expense. Outside, the city lights blinked like indifferent stars, and in that reflection, I decided if they wanted a clown, I would give them one, the greatest show on earth, a slow, methodical build-up to the collapse they never saw coming. The final payments for the venue were due 2 days before the wedding. Guess whose card was on file? Mine. I could have cancelled it all in a single click, but that would have been mercy. I didn't want mercy, I wanted them to watch it rot from the inside. So instead, I froze the payments, venue, caterer, florist, DJ, each one locked in place like a loaded trap. I didn't call, I didn't explain, I just let the silence stretch and spread like a shadow over the whole event. While that silence grew, I sent one final message, BCC, to the entire guest list. Subject, wedding cancelled. Body, please do not attend. Further details to come. No explanation, no apology, just the truth dropped like a blade. And one last flourish, a delivery arranged for the morning of the big day. A 6-foot-tall, matte black box, no labels, no clues, only the promise of a reveal. The day of the wedding. The morning broke gray and lifeless, a colorless sky hanging heavy over the street. Even the wind seemed to move differently, sharp and biting. I arrived early, not as a brother, not even as a guest, but as the architect of what would soon be the most unforgettable moment of Emma's life. The venue was eerily still. Rows of white chairs sat untouched, tables half-dressed with wilting centerpieces. No music, no chatter, just the soft thump of my own heartbeat and the whistle of wind across the courtyard. Emma paced near the entrance, still in her $1,000 lashes and her $8,000 dress, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice cut through the emptiness. Where is everybody? Where are they? Redial, again, and again, each unanswered ring stripping more composure from her voice. Dad was already red-faced, jabbing a finger at the event coordinator. This is your fault, you screwed this up. The coordinator, a woman who looked like she'd been in the wedding business far too long, just shook her head. No, sir, we received cancellation notice yesterday. Vendors were informed. We posted the advisory. Emma's voice turned sharp, panicked. What notice? Who sent it? I stayed back, silent, savoring the unraveling. Then, right on cue, a delivery van pulled into the driveway. The brake hissed, and two men in black uniforms emerged, rolling a massive matte black box on a dolly. What is that? Emma's voice cracked. Dad stormed toward them. That's not ours, get it out of here. But the men ignored him. My signature was on the delivery order. They positioned the box dead center under the empty wedding arch. The scattered audience, venue staff, two confused bridesmaids, and a handful of hangers-on stood frozen. A sharp click echoed. The box's front panel swung open with a bang. And out stepped the clown. Full costume, tangled red wig, baggy polka dot suit, monstrous painted grin. In one hand, a giant cardboard sign, wedding cancelled. In the other, an air horn. The clown blasted the horn aloud, shrill, deafening, and then erupted into cackling. Not polite laughter, not playful giggles, maniacal, unhinged laughter that ricocheted off the empty walls and cut through the cold air like broken glass. Emma staggered back, one white-gloved hand clamped over her mouth. No, no, this isn't happening. The clown skipped in circles, dancing in the space where her fairy tale should have been, spinning the sign overhead like a trophy. Dad lunged but slipped on the stone path, landing hard. Mom collapsed into a chair, sobbing. The bridesmaids clung to each other, wide-eyed. And I stepped forward. Looking for your guests? My voice was low, even. Emma's eyes snapped to mine, fury and humiliation mixing into something raw and broken. You did this. I shrugged. Did what? Warn them the circus was in town but the tent was missing? Tell them the star performer was a fraud? Her makeup streaked down her face, the dress hanging on her like a deflated balloon. The clown did a final exaggerated bow, tooting the air horn like a trumpet, then somersaulted onto the grass and waved goodbye before skipping off toward the parking lot. Emma's scream followed him long, guttural, animal. She hurled her bouquet. It missed by a wide margin. It was over. Not with vows, not with applause, but with a clown, an empty arch, and a ruined girl standing ankle-deep in the wreckage of her own making. I turned and walked away, the laughter echoing behind me. The aftermath. I didn't stay for the rest. I didn't need to. When a building is already on fire, you don't have to watch it burn to know the outcome. That night, I checked my phone only once. Dozens of missed calls from Mom, several from Dad, a string of voicemails from Emma, each one swinging between rage and desperation. Fix this, I'll sue you, please, you're still my brother. I didn't answer a single one.
The days that followed were a study in damage control. Emma posted cryptic Instagram captions, "Sometimes family betrays you in the worst ways." Dad spread his version on Facebook, "Money makes people crazy. We forgive, but we don't forget." Forgive? They'd rob you blind, punch you in the face, then ask you to apologize for bleeding on their carpet. And the truth? Nobody cared. The world moved on. The wedding was only important to Emma and her fantasy of royalty. A new start. While they spun their stories, I started mine. I walked into my boss's office, dropped my resignation letter, and said, "I'm done letting people take advantage of me, starting today." I'd already lined up work upstate, a quiet property maintenance contract by a lake. No glitter, no drama, just mine. The twist. A week later, a battered envelope appeared under my apartment door. No return address. Inside, a short letter from Derek, the man Emma had almost married. "I figured you'd want to know. I was never in love with her. She blackmailed me into the engagement. I was about to walk out, but when I heard what you did, you saved me. I'm gone now. Don't look for me, but thank you." Blackmailed. The word rang in my head. Derek hadn't been weak. He'd been trapped, just like me, only his chain had a diamond on it, and somehow, in burning down their show, I'd freed him too. That was the last time I heard from any of them, and the first time in years I truly breathed. No warning, no pause. The call came without so much as a hello, no pause to breathe, no softness in the voice, just the same urgent tone they always used when they needed something. "Emma's not well, she's not eating, she's not sleeping, she says you ruined her life. You need to fix this." I let the words hang there for a moment, the way you let a bad smell pass before you open a window. Then I said, slowly, "Not my circus, not my monkeys." Mom didn't miss a beat. The fake sweetness in her voice slipped, revealing the sharp steel underneath. "You were supposed to be her brother. You think walking away from her like this makes you better?" I almost laughed. "It doesn't make me better," I said, my voice calm and steady. "It makes me free." And that was the end of it. I hung up before she could spit more poison into my ear, blocked every number, changed my email, deleted the family group chats like they were just another spam folder clogging up my life. By that afternoon, my new lease was signed, my official exit strategy. But before I left town, I had one last errand to run. The bank visit. Months earlier, while Emma was busy rattling a tin cup for her fairy tale wedding, she'd pulled another stunt. This one involved my parents co-signing a loan with my name listed as the emergency guarantor. They'd done it quietly, almost smugly, like they were playing a card they'd been saving for the perfect moment. They assumed I wouldn't notice, or worse, that even if I did, I'd just bail them out. They'd built an entire history around that assumption, that my forgiveness was inevitable, my silence guaranteed. They were wrong. I walked into the bank with a folder thick enough to make a thud when it hit the counter. Inside, signed statements, screenshots, copies of contracts, every shred of evidence proving the fraud. Alongside it, a formal withdrawal of consent and a request for a full internal investigation. Their little financial house of cards was about to catch fire, not because I screamed, not because I begged, but because I quietly took away the one thing they had always counted on me. A new beginning. 2 weeks later, I stood on a porch overlooking a silver lake that seemed to stretch into forever. There was no buzzing phone in my pocket, no unread messages demanding my guilt, just the whisper of wind through the trees and the faint smell of autumn drifting in from the water. That morning, I signed the last piece of paperwork. The maintenance business was mine now, a little weathered, but honest. Along with it came a small cabin, nothing fancy, just 4 walls, a roof, and the kind of silence you can only buy with distance. I moved in that very day, carrying each box myself. Not a single item from my old life crossed the threshold. I even changed my phone number, printed it on cardstock, framed it, and hung it above the door like a trophy. Beneath it, a hand-carved wooden plaque, "No clowns allowed." The letter. 3 months later, a plain envelope showed up on my porch. No stamp, no return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. "You should come home. Emma's in therapy now. She forgives you. Mom says Christmas won't be the same without you. Dad says, we all made mistakes." I read it twice, laughed once. Forgives me. They still didn't understand. I wasn't sitting here waiting for their absolution like some dog at the back door. I wasn't begging for a seat at their rotten table. I'd built my own, and there was no room for thieves, liars,
or people who only remembered you when your wallet was open. The last test. On a whim,
I checked my old Facebook under a burner profile. Emma had posted a picture of a Christmas table, half-empty plates, the sad remains of a meal that never really came together.
Caption: some people will always choose pride over family. Hope you're happy. Dad's comment underneath: forgive and forget even when they abandon you. Mom had dropped a single crying emoji. Same script, different year.
They still thought love meant obedience. They still thought loud enough tears could drag me back.
That's when it clicked. They didn't hate me. They didn't even dislike me.
They just loved the version of me that served their needs, the one who stayed silent, who swallowed guilt like it was medicine. Without that version,
I was useless to them. And I was no longer broken enough to play that role. The final gesture. That afternoon, I walked into town. The air was crisp, the kind that wakes you up from the inside out. At the post office,
I filled out a change of address form, no forwarding.
Then I went to the hardware store, bought a heavy new lock for the gate, and hung another wooden sign beneath my mailbox. Private property,
no clowns allowed. A couple of the old-timers in town chuckled as they passed.
One gave me a nod and said, "Good policy." I smiled. The unexpected call. Weeks later, just when life had settled into its quiet rhythm, I got a call. Not from Emma, not from Mom, not from Dad.
From Derek, the man Emma almost married.
He was somewhere in Montana now, working construction, happier than he'd been in years. "Just wanted to say thanks," he said. "The day you pulled the plug on that wedding, that was the day I got my life back. I hope you found peace, too." No promises to stay in touch, no long goodbyes, just two men, strangers really, bound by one truth: sometimes you don't just walk away from the circus, sometimes you burn it down. The last thought. I wasn't angry anymore, not bitter, just done. Peace, I've learned, doesn't arrive with trumpets. It comes in quiet moments, standing at the edge of a lake, knowing you're nobody's fool anymore. I wasn't the clown, I wasn't the sideshow,
I was the man who burned down the tent, salted the earth,
and walked away whistling. Because sometimes survival isn't enough.
The real victory is becoming so untouchable that no one dares build a cage for you ever again.